you know, changes that you need to add. All right. Okay. So now let's take a look at your writing as a whole. So what you're going to expect here is that in your writing, you would need to deal with a total of 2 tasks. Okay. So 2 tasks. Now for people who are doing general, okay, well, what you're going to expect in your actual exam is they're going to give you a letter. They're going to ask you to write one letter, okay, and they're going to give you 20 minutes to finish this. Okay, this is the first task. Okay, the second task this time would involve an essay, which is you need to finish this within 40 minutes. All right, so a total of 60 minutes. Okay, ignore the R there. So a total of 60 minutes will be given to you here, okay, to finish your writing. And take note, this is the last test in your actual exam, followed by listening would always come first, followed by reading, and then the last test out of the 3 tests would be writing. Okay. As for your speaking, it will be held before those 3 tests. Okay, so what you need to do is just finish our game plan here. And our plan basically would be to finish all the lectures, continue practicing, continue assessing your skills, check and see if you're reaching your desired score. Okay, during the practice sessions, and then the lectures that we're having, the tips and Q&As that we're having. So after that, okay, what would happen here is we're going to have a mock test, okay, for all of you. Basically, I'll be once I think you're ready, if for mock test, I'll be giving you a mock test. So usually you have to prepare for a day, not really a day. It's more of a 3 hours. Prepare yourselves for 3 hours. Okay, so that way we'll be able to try and simulate the real exam. Because in your actual exam, let's say you're starting with listening. What's going to happen here is they're just going to give you, let's say 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes just to distribute all the papers, everything, So once listening is done, okay, they're going to give you a little bit of time, okay, but they're not going to give you enough time, a long time to rest. So it will be continuous. So after listening, they're going to give you 2 to 3 minutes. If you want to go to the washroom, for instance, then you can. However, they're not going to pause the time for you. Okay, so it will be like that. Listening, reading, writing. As for your speaking, most of the time it will be held before those 3 tests. So the trend right now is usually around a day before. Okay, a day before. Speaking a day before, and then the 3 tests would be on the same day. All right? Okay, but going back, okay, so this is for general. Okay, they're going to ask you to write 1 letter and 1 essay. As for academic this time, what's going to happen here is for them, they're going to receive, instead of letters, they're going to receive a report, a report task that they need to finish. It's the same, 20 minutes still, but the layout, the structure would be different. All right, so here's the thing. Now, the whole test, basically your whole writing test, what's going to happen here, or what you need to expect here, is that the test would assess you based on your organizational skills, meaning how will you be able to organize all of your ideas into writing. The problem about writing is that, a lot of people get scared of the minimum, maximum word count. They get intimidated. They think that they don't have any ideas whatsoever. But the thing here is, okay, we're just having trouble. Right. So good evening. You can have a seat. We'll start. Okay, we'll start anyway. Just catch up. Okay, but what I'm saying, going back to what I'm saying, you're writing. Okay, what's your roll number again?
August 1.
August 1. All right. But overall, you're writing. Okay, what's going to happen here is. All right, hold on. Okay, the test would assess you based on your organizational skills, and at the same time, your accurate use of your grammar. This one's additional grammar and everything, your vocabulary. Okay, so the question here is that, going back to what I was saying earlier. Okay, the question here is, a lot of people get intimidated. A lot of people get scared of writing, thinking that they don't have any ideas. The reason is because we're not used to it anymore. That's it. We're not used to it. Okay. Even maybe before, when we're still studying, for example, when we're still in the university, since we're still studying, we're used to writing a lot, then it will be easy for us to generate all of those thoughts. But as of now, okay, the reason why a lot of people struggle when it comes to writing is because we're not used to it anymore. Maybe in some specific professions, some specific jobs, wherein it will require most of them, okay, to even compose emails. Let's say emails, compose documents and so on. So they would have a they would have an easier time doing that. But as for now, okay, for most of us, I'm sure we don't have enough time, okay, even to simply write. Write a letter, write an essay, even. So this is what you're going to expect. All right. Now, before we continue, do you have any questions so far as you're writing? Before we continue. All right. So for you haven't had any letter writing lecture, right? It's okay. All right. So now let's continue. Okay, what's going to happen here is I'll be explaining everything you need to know when it comes to your task one writing. Okay, for most of you who are doing general, okay, we're going to start first with that. Okay, and then as for academic later on, after finishing the general, we're going to talk about it as well. All right. Now we're going to start first with the overview, overall task one. So letter writing, report writing. What you're going to expect here is that they're going to give you 20 minutes to finish this, although you can exceed 20 minutes, but take note, 20 minutes is the recommended time. So once 20 minutes is done, I'm sure they're going to remind you that you can start your essays now, and everything. All right. Now in here, task one, what's going to happen here is they're going to give you, or this would amount, your task one writing would amount to a total of 1/3 of your overall writing score. Okay, only 1/3. So the remaining 2/3 would be taken from your essays. All right. Okay. Now, aside from that, okay, in your, let's say, task one, so they're going to mention that you need to write a minimum, okay? You need to write a minimum word count of 150 words. Okay? Minimum is 150 words. If you did not reach 150, what's going to happen here is they're going to give you a penalty in terms of point deduction. So you do not want that, right? So why? Why 150? Why will they give me a deduction? The reason is because they are going to state it there. So imagine this one, for example, what I'm holding. Okay, imagine that this is the task that you're going to write. So they're going to mention the situation, and then what's going to happen here is it will be stating here. It will be stated here that you need to write a minimum, write at least 150 words. That's it. Okay. So that means the first thing that the examiners are going to do, when it comes to your writing, is they're going to take a look and they're going to try and count every single word. Okay, every single word, even single articles, such as I, the even, and so on. They're still going to consider it as one word. So they're going to count every single thing. All right. Aside from that, there would also be a maximum. Although, the maximum word count would just be your guide. This is not the exact maximum. But in order for you to control everything, in order for you to not over-explain everything or turn your writing into a long narrative already, in order for you to avoid that, you just need to remember this: the maximum, would be 180. Okay, actually, 150, let's say 160. 160 words to 180 words is more than enough for you to explain everything. Anything more than that, depending on the structure, depending on what you have written, would be considered as over elaborating already, because it's too much, too much detail. Which is you've already proven your point. You've already stated what you need to say in your letter, in your report, even. But the thing here is, you exceeded that. Although it would depend. Everything would depend on your output. So example, for me, if I'm going to check and see your writing and you exceeded more than 180 already, but I do not feel, but I will not, or I won't feel any, long narratives in your output, then I would still consider it, even in your actual test. It's the same. Okay. But if, for example, I think that it's really long already, and then I think that it's too much, then it would not be good anymore. Right. So you have to be careful. Okay. But anyway, everything, as long as you've written one, as long as you've made one writing output, just give it to me, send it to me through WhatsApp, okay, if you want. Okay. As long as it's a clear copy, if you have something written, for example, and then you could come here as well, on site then. You can give it to me, I'll mark it for you. Okay. As for online, it would depend actually as well. Okay, make sure that the copy would be very clear, it's clear. Okay, at least. So I won't have a hard time, trying my best to understand some parts wherein it's not clear. Okay, so as much as possible, you have to make it clear. Okay. There's an application, I think, for that. So people are using either Apple or Android. There's an application for that wherein it's going to filter everything and would turn into a scanned copy. So you can use that. Okay, but I'm not sure. Well, anyway, going back to what I was saying. So what we're going to do is this time, before you start writing anything, we're going to start first with letter writing. So the moment that they're going to give you the task, the topic, what's going to happen here is they're going to give you, or in your topic, what you're going to expect. Okay, hold on. All right, you can take it later, it's fine. Okay. But what you're going to expect here is in your topic, they're going to give you the situation. They're always going to describe the situation. We're going to start first with letter writing. So for letter writing, what's going to happen here is they're going to explain, in your actual test, they're only going to give you one type of letter, but it could be a lot, so there would be a total of 3 types of letter. Okay. And it will be your job to figure out which type of layout, okay, you're going to use for different letters, whether it would be informal, formal, or semi-formal. Okay, so what's going to happen here is I'll be explaining everything. I'll be giving you a guide, okay, and I'll be teaching you the layout when it comes to your writing. All right. Okay. So, okay, but going back now, this time, okay, before you start writing anything, always remember the following. Okay, the 4 steps, the 4-step guide before you start doing or before you start writing anything. Okay, the first step is to find out the type of letter you're going to write. Okay, so find out the type of letter, whether it would be informal, formal, or semi-formal. Okay, so how will you find out? The answer to that would be, okay, you're going to depend everything based on who you need to write to. Okay, so if it's a friend or a family member, they're going to ask you, write to a friend, write to a family, or write to your cousin, and so on. But most of the time for informal letters, they're always going to ask you to write to a friend. Okay, so what you're going to expect, they're going to say, write a letter to a friend, write a letter to your friend. Okay, and then in your letter, and then one. All right. If it's a friend, if it is asking you to write to a friend or a family, then of course, the layout that you're going to use would be informal letters. Okay, informal letters. If, for example, they're going to ask you to write to somebody who has a high authority or a position, high position, let's just say a boss or a manager, a manager of a store, owner of a store, owner of a company, CEO, even, someone with a high authority, basically, or a position, high position. So what you're going to use this time would be formal type of layout, formal letters. You're going to write a formal letter. Right? And that's it. So the last one for semi-formal. For semi-formal letters, most of the time, they are going to be addressed to somebody, okay, who you may or may have met already, or even not, but you don't. But you know their name, so you know their name, and they don't have any special authority. You know, they don't have a high authority against somebody or maybe to you. Okay. So an example for this would be, let's say, neighbors or landlords. You know, so neighbors, landlords, they're going to ask you to use, or what you need to use here is semi-formal. Okay, so I'll make it clearer later, but I'll ask you a question. What if, for example, you need to write a letter to me? Okay, you need to write a letter to me. So, what do you think? Which layout are you going to use?
Semi-formal letter.
Semi-formal, right? Because you know me, you don't need to be too formal to me, but the position, or let's say the relationship, you know, allows us to use semi-formal, right? So, how about, let's say, uh, you need to going back before, let's just say you were still in university, you were still studying, you need to write a letter to the headmaster of the school, headmaster, dean, the principal. Okay, so formal letter, good. Formal. Why? Even if you know that person, but technically the person has a high authority, a high position, right? So you still need to be formal. Similarly, if you need to write to your manager, to your boss, you know, since you know the person, but even if you know the person, you're still going to write, you're still going to use a formal letter. Okay. Why? Because of the position. Okay. How about colleagues this time? We're going to ask you write a letter to your colleagues. Colleagues. You know, so everyone in your job, colleagues. So what do you think?
Depending on the context.
Depending on the context. Okay. Okay, so for example, the context of the letter, it would say, you're suddenly going to leave work, you're going to leave the company, okay, because you found a better job, you know, in a different company, so, or you need to move to a different country, right? So write a letter to your colleagues. That's it. So that's the context. So what do you think? Which type of layout are you going to use? Any idea?
Informal.
Informal. Okay, who says informal? Who says formal? Who says semi-formal?
If it's about presentation and you're talking to your colleague who's on the HR department, it's formal.
Okay, but how about if you need to address it to everyone? To everyone, all of your colleagues. Okay, the answer to that would be semi-formal. Semi-formal. Why? Even if, for example, you know, you consider some of your colleagues as your friend, but I'm sure, you know, maybe you still need to be formal to them, right? Because not everyone is as close as considered to be your friend. You know, maybe some will be your acquaintances and so on. Maybe sometimes some people, since depending on the company, you know, maybe the company is too big, so you just need to address all of them. Okay, maybe you're under how do you say it? People under you, not really under you, working. You know, how do you say it? You know, the hierarchy. Yeah, basically the hierarchy. You know, you have a position. Let's just say you have a position, and then
you're writing with a rank and file.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and that's it. You know, so what you're going to do, you're going to use semi-formal, okay, approach, semi-formal letter. All right, and that's it. So that's the first step. Okay, so all right, hold on. That's the first step. So what's going to happen here is after finding out which type of letter you're going to use, the second step this time is to brainstorm. Okay. Second step is to brainstorm. Do brainstorming. It's already done for right now. So brainstorming.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, how about these colleagues? What we will address to them for the letter?
Okay.
Like dear
Good
colleagues
question.
or what?
Good question. So we're going to talk about that later, but just to satisfy your curiosity or all of your curiosities, you would address them as dear colleagues. Okay, dear colleagues. No specific. You don't need to write all of their names. No need for that. It's fine to address them as a whole. Okay. All right. But going back, okay, this time let's move on to the second step. The second step is to do brainstorming. So that means you need to brainstorm, you need to think and gather all of your ideas together, okay, for around 2 to 5 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes is enough. Okay, but question, why do we need to brainstorm? Why not just simply start writing right away? Okay. All right. So, okay, hold on. So, why do you think? You can take a look at this first. Okay, but going back, why do we need to do brainstorming first instead of just simply start writing right away? Okay, why? Okay, the reason is because, everything before you start writing anything, if you did not do brainstorming and you just started right away, what's going to happen is the tendency you'll be cutting a large piece of information, you're unsure about it. Maybe you had another great opinion, you have an idea, and it's in continuation with somewhere in the middle of your, what you're writing. So you'll tend to cut and remove and add and remove and add and remove and keep on doing the same thing. So it would be messy, it would be confusing most of the time. And take note, the test would focus here. They're going to focus on how you'll be able to organize everything. So what's going to happen is that, if they're going to see, even if they're going to allow erasures, basically, because in your actual test, they're only going to allow you to use pencils. All right. So you can bring your rubber eraser, you can bring your erasers, your rubber or something, and then it's fine. Okay. They're not going to allow you to use pens here, only pencils. All right. Now going back. So hold on, let me just open this. Letter writing. All right, now going back. Okay, so question, how will you brainstorm? Okay, this time, so before you start doing anything, you're going to check the topic. Okay, so you're going to check the topic. So I have given you the topic. So for online, you can see it here. I'll be sending it in our group as well later on. Okay, but what's going to happen here is, you would see, it's already given informal, formal, semi-formal. In your actual exam, they're not going to mention this. So what you're going to expect is that you're only going to see the topic, the situation. Okay, so for example, informal, you're only going to see you have a friend who lives in the city abroad, and then write to your friend in the middle, and then 3 bullet points. Okay, so this is this is what you're going to expect in your actual exam. All right, they're going to give you the situation. Okay, they're going to explain the situation. They're going to show you hints, or basically they're going to tell you who you need to write to. And then as for the 3 bullet points, you just need to explain. Okay, you need to add in your letter. Failure to add and include these ideas, in the bullet points. Okay, would greatly affect your score. They're going to say you did not provide a holistic answer. It's not a complete answer. Okay, you missed on the few topics that you should have included. Okay, and you would be getting a lower score basically. So you have to be careful. This is why brainstorming is really important. So how will you brainstorm? Okay. Now, if you're going to take a look at this, the first topic, informal, this is how you're going to start, So always start first by thinking and reading the first sentence. So it says here, you have a friend who lives in a city abroad. So start with that. You're going to think of a name of a friend. So let's just say the name of a friend is John, the most, not really generic, it's the most common name out there, John. I'm sure all of you would have probably met someone named John, or someone, so it's one of the most common names, John. Okay, so I would say John. So John is my friend. And then next information, city abroad. City abroad. Okay, so I would think, let's just say, since most of you are planning to go to Canada, I would just say Ontario, Canada. Okay, that's it. Okay, so this is the thing when it comes to brainstorming. Especially in letter writing as well. You can be creative here. Okay, you can be creative. You can, let's say, uh, mention a lot of things that's not real. Okay, as long as it's making sense, as long as everything is still connected. Okay, that's it. So continuing with our brainstorm. So we're done with the first sentence. This time, the next sentence. You have decided that you would like to apply to do a course at one of the colleges in their city. So one of the colleges. Why? Why do you need to go back to college? Maybe it's for scholarship, right? Since this is one of the most realistic ones as well. When you're going to think about it, most people tend to, let's say, go to Canada. They're going to apply for a scholarship. Okay, so at least they'll be able to get their visa. After that, they're going to find their jobs and they're going to migrate there, right? So you can say that scholarship, or you can be creative. So you can say you're planning to finish your your doctorate's degree. It's fine. You can also say that you're continuing to, to aim for higher education, finish your higher education, meaning master's degree. So let's just choose that higher education. So master's degree. Okay. And then one of the colleges, so it says here one of the colleges. One of the colleges, meaning it would ask you to be specific. Okay, because it says here you have decided that you would like to apply to do a course at one of the colleges in your city. So you can be specific here. You can also, since your friend lives there, your friend knows the area very, very much. You can say that recommendations. So which university should you take? You can ask them about that. Or if you want, you can be generic as well. You can be specific. You can say University of Ontario. So you can say that, or you can ask help. Okay, ask for ask help. Refer whichever university would best suit your needs, or maybe wherever your friend would be recommending. Okay, and that's it. So in the middle, write to your friend, and then first bullet point, tell them what you would like to do. So what would you like to do? So you can be realistic as well. You can be creative. You can say that you're planning to have 1 year or vacation just to finish your higher education. You're planning to leave the company. You're planning to take a vacation, like a long leave. You can mention that you talk to your manager, you talk to your boss. Your boss has agreed to give you 1 year to finish this. Okay, so that at least when you come back to to your company, you'll be earning a promotion. So maybe it's an eligibility when it comes to getting a better job as well. You can also say that you've left your current job here in the UAE in order for you to pursue your higher education. Once this is settled, you can either decide to move there as well in Canada, or you can go to other places. You can go to other countries to apply. Okay, once you finish this course, all right, that's it. Okay, so tell them what you'd like to do. So everything would depend on your ideas, your opinions as well. You can be creative. You can also be realistic. You can compare it to what you're currently experiencing now. So that's it. Next bullet point says, tell them what type of work or studies you have been doing for the past few years. So also you need to explain, right? So what have you been doing? What type of work you've been doing for the past few years? You can mention the length of how long you have been doing this, how long have you been working as this, and so on. And then the last bullet point says, ask for assistance in contacting the appropriate institute. Okay, and that's it. So once you're done brainstorming, then this is a chance for you to double check everything. Once you've covered everything that needs to be covered, then this is a time for you to go to step 3. The third step is to simply start writing. Okay, so you can start writing already. Okay, now question. There's another question here. Okay, or not really a question, a tip actually that I have for you. In order for you to show that everything is in order, everything is organized, you can follow the flow starting from the first sentence going down. So in your paragraphs, the structure and layout, everything starting from the top, going to the second sentence, and then the first bullet point, second bullet point, and then finally, when you're about to end your letter, okay, the last bullet point. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this. Okay. So there. Now, once you finish brainstorming, there's a chance for you to start writing your letter. And then once you finish your letter, you can check your letter as well. All right. So this is the 4-step guide. So make sure to, follow this as well. Make sure to remember this, even for you, Miss Sophie, for report writing. Okay, it's the same. Okay, always make sure to brainstorm first. Okay. Once you finish brainstorming, then you can start writing your report. That's it. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Now we're going to start first with informal letters. Okay. So how will you start your informal letters? So you already know. Okay. For informal letters, they're going to ask you to write to a friend or a family member. Most of the time, if it's an informal letter, it will be write to your friend. So I've seen a few topics which states that you need to write to somebody, your relative, basically. Only a few, but most of the time it will be friend. Okay, if it's informal letter. So how will you start? Okay, always make sure to start on the left-hand side, on the edge. So let's just say on the edge of the paper. Always start here on the left-hand side. Make sure to differentiate each paragraph as well with 1 space, So for example, this 1 space. All right. So you're going to start this time with dear, dear, and then you have to include the first name, so like what we have thought of earlier, John. So you're going to start first with dear John, okay, or you can think of any first name that you want, okay, as long as it's only first name. No need to write full names, just first name, okay. Once that is done, leave 1 space, leave 1 line, for example, and then start your first paragraph or P1. Your first paragraph's role here is it will only be for greetings, So most of the time, 1 to 2 sentences, 1 to 3 sentences is fine, as long as you're not going to make it too long, So because the role of this paragraph is to just simply greet your friend. That's it, So you can start with the phrases like, it's been a long time since we've seen each other. Okay, how are you? Hi, hello. A simple greeting. I hope everything is I hope you're doing well in Canada. I hope everything is fine. It's been a long time since we have talked to each other. All of the simple greetings. Just 1 to 2 sentences or 1 to 3 sentences. Short sentences is enough. You don't need to explain a lot of things here. Just to greet your friend. That's it. Okay. Once that is done, you're going to then proceed to your second paragraph, and this is called your body paragraph. So what you're going to do is you just need to explain everything. Just explain everything. Okay. But a good way for you to start your body paragraph is by mentioning first the reason why you're writing. Okay. So it will be like this. So, dear John, and then it's been a long time since we have seen each other. I hope this letter finds you well. And that's it. That's my greetings. And then I'll start my body paragraph by saying, the reason why I'm writing, the reason why I'm writing this letter is to inform you that I am planning to go to your city. I'm planning to visit your city soon in Ontario, Canada. Okay. Where I will be inquiring, or I would be applying to one of the colleges. to to finish my higher education, to pursue a higher education, or to finish this course, so on. Right. So that's the reason for why you're writing. Right. So the reason why you're writing is to inform your friend and ask for assistance, and that's it. Okay. Once that is done, this is the time for you to cover and explain all the topics and the bullet points as well. So everything that we thought of earlier, or everything that you have brainstormed, this is where you're going to include here. Okay. So usually around 7 to 10 sentences is enough here. Okay. Just 7 to 10 sentences, just an average. Okay. Okay. Make sure that the sentences are also not that not that short. Okay. Why? Because if the sentences are too short, then it would it would just give you a few let's say words, okay, and you would not reach 150. So at least try your best to cover all aspects, all areas wherein it's not needed, but at the same time it will make it complete. Okay. So like what I have mentioned earlier, tell them your plans. The first bullet point, I should say, wherein it's going to ask you, tell them what you're planning to do. So just a short vacation is not enough to complete it. So you can add a little more detail. Okay, but make sure that it's not too much detail already. Wherein you need to explain the flight details. No need for that. I'm planning to go there tomorrow, for example. Okay, I need to pack up things here. I need to buy things here. I don't need to do that. Okay, as long as you straight away right to the point. But at the same time, the ideas, the information are also that are not included would still make sense. In a short way, in a brief manner. All right, that's it. Okay, you don't need to. For example, you mentioned that you're currently leaving your work. You're planning to leave your work, so you don't need to explain why. Because it's really stressful. One of my colleagues has been this. You don't need that. Okay, so everything would depend. Actually, if you think it will be necessary, then you can try. But I'll be the judge of that. Okay? I'll make sure. Okay, I'll mention everything. For example, if this particular information is not needed anymore, then you can remove it. Okay, so at least we'll be able to try and see. Okay, but my advice: you don't need to add a lot of details if it won't, if it won't change something. Let's just say that's it. All right. Once that is done, okay, leave another space. You don't need to put a lot of paragraphs in your body paragraph. It should be only one. Okay, one whole body paragraph. Okay, which contains everything. Once that is done, leave one space. Start writing your third paragraph. Third paragraph's purpose is just to send your, prayers, your love, your thanks. Just a short remark. Wherein you're just going to mention, thank you very much. I'm hoping to see you soon. I'm very excited to see you soon. Please send my love prayers to you and your family, and so on. And then after that, leave one space, and then your sign off. This time you can choose from best wishes or warm regards. This is the standard in your letters, in your informal letter. Just choose one. And then you can write your name. You can write your full name. You can write your first name. No need to write signatures. Okay, everything will be here. Okay, everything, all the information will be in your second paragraph. Okay, that's it. This is for informal letter. Okay, this time, let's proceed to formal letters. And for formal letters, you have to be careful as well, similar to report writing, because report writing, formal letter and semi-formal letters would require you to write in a formal tone. Okay, so if you think that what you're writing is not that formal anymore, so what do you mean formal tone? Most of the time, if you're going to compare, let's just say legal documents, legal documents, notice boards, notice board announcements, even, so sometimes the tone varies. Okay, but you'll be able to read. How do you say it? You'll be able to recognize some of the most formal tones. Most particularly when it comes to contracts. Let's say contracts. It's a formal writing. So similarly. Okay, emails even, if you have a lot of experiences when it comes to composing emails, then the tone matters as well. Similarly, in your formal letters, semi-formal letter, and report writing. So what you're going to do is you have to avoid a few do nots. First one is you have to avoid using contractions. Okay, don't need to use contractions. Contractions like don't, can't, shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't. Make sure that you're going to use the full form, which is do not, or cannot, would not, okay, will not, and so on. Okay. Aside from that, you have to avoid writing shortcuts, abbreviations, basically EX, EG, ETC. No need to write that. For abbreviations, it is better to, it's better to complete it because it's a formal letter, and do not assume that everyone knows these abbreviations, okay, that you have been using. For example, so if it's not clear, let's just say, how do you say it? Master's degree, for example, master's in business administration, MBA. So most of the time it would be it would not be clear. Okay, so you have to write it in full. Okay, all right, and those are the few things. Also symbols for and, backslash, you don't need to include that. As for parentheses and quotations, you don't need that as well. Okay, just turn it into a formal sentence. Okay, and that's it. All right. Okay, but going back, so how will you start your formal letter this time? Okay, so you're going to start first by mentioning dear sir or madam. Okay, no need to write names here. Why? Because most of the time the topics would ask you to write to somebody you haven't met yet. Yes? Okay, 10 minutes. All right. Okay, but going back, in here, you don't need to write any names whatsoever, right? No names, no surnames, because most of the time the topics would be asking you to write to somebody you haven't met. So even, you don't even know the gender. So most of the time, just start writing dear sir or madam. If it's asking you to write to your manager, then you can choose, okay, dear sir or dear madam, or you can still apply both. It's fine, okay? After that, the difference between informal and formal letter this time is your first paragraph. The first paragraph for your formal letter is you don't need to include greetings. No need to add greetings. No need to say hello or something. No need for that. Straight away, write the reason for your writing. State the reason why you're writing right away. Okay. So it will be like this. Dear sir or madam, the reason why I'm writing this letter is to inform you. Okay, a good way for you to write the reason why you're writing is to paraphrase the topic. Okay, so you just need to paraphrase the topic. That's it. All right. Okay, once that is done, okay, this time, usually around 1 to 3, 1 to 2 sentences, 1 to 3 sentences, it's fine. Okay. And then after that, in your second paragraph this time, or the body paragraph, what you can do is you can add and explain, you can mention the details about what happened, details of what happened, depending on the topic, if it's a complaint letter, if it's a thank you letter, or something, just mention the details, what happened. After that, mention the effects. And the last one would be expectations. Cover your expectations. What do you expect them to do about it? What do you expect them? Okay, what you want them to do? So make sure to cover all bullet points in detail as well. Okay, but most of the time, this is in order. Details affects expectation. Okay, most of the time, the 3 bullet points. The first one is going to require you to explain the details. Mention the effects that it would have on you, and then mention what you want them to do about it. That's it. Okay, so this is for your body paragraph. The third paragraph this time, okay, so is to just to say a simple thank you. Thank you in advance. Thank you for your your cooperation. Appreciate all the things and so on. I appreciate the concern. Okay, and so on. Just an ending statement, just thanking in advance. All right. I hope this issue will be resolved soon. All of those possible ending statements. And then Your sign off this time would be yours faithfully. This is a standard. Okay, so it's good to follow this as well. This is a modern layout as well. So yours faithfully. You can write your full name. You can write your first name. Both are fine. No, again, no need to write signatures. No need to include mobile numbers. All of those information, let's just say mobile number, has to be in the body paragraph or in the third sentence as well, or third paragraph as well. Okay, you can contact me. Please don't hesitate to contact me through this number and so on. Okay, that's it. So this is for formal letter. Okay, now this time we're going to proceed to semi-formal letters. As for semi-formal letters, this time, what you're going to expect here is, the only difference between formal and semi-formal would be the start and the sign-off. So you're going to start here with Dear Mr. or Mrs. And since most of the time, these situations, they're going to mention that you know the person already. What's going to happen is, you just need to think of a surname. Any surname is fine. You can say, you're writing to a celebrity that you know is fine. Because it's as long as you're going to write a surname. Okay, so Dear Mr. Mrs. Then let's just say Smith. Okay, or Dear Mr. Mrs. Singh, and so on. So depending on which surname you thought of. As for first, second, third paragraph, it will be exactly the same as your formal letters, meaning you're always going to start with the reason for writing. After that, mention the details, effects, expectations, in the topic. And the last paragraph would be just a simple thanking in advance. All right. Okay, your sign off this time would be yours sincerely. And then your name. Okay, first name, full name, both are fine. All right. So these are the three layouts when it comes to your writing.